Well, let me tell you, their virtue is attentiveness, and their vice is apathy. So what does this mean? Well, let's talk about a famous INTP, John Nash. And there was a portrayal of John Nash by an actor by the name of Russell Crowe, who did a film by the name A Beautiful Mind. If you're an INTP watching this, I recommend you watch A Beautiful Mind. If you're an ENTJ in a relationship with an INTP, or either one of those two types, or even considering having a relationship between one of those two types, I strongly recommend you watch A Beautiful Mind, because it is the best portrayal that I've seen in terms of, wow, the wind is crazy today. I like it. It is the absolute best portrayal of INTP plus ENTJ relationships, with Russell Crowe's character being the INTP, of course, and the female lead being an ENTJ woman, right? So it just goes to show those relationship dynamics. So why is this relevant? Well, there's a particular scene when the two characters are dating, and they go visit the art museum together at some kind of event. Or at least it's an art museum, and there's an event potentially for the university that Russell Crowe's character John Nash is a student at. And there's a lot of talking going on. There's a lot of important people there. Everyone's wearing a suit, including Russell Crowe's character John Nash. And he's just so fascinated. His attentiveness is kicked in. He's just so fascinated by the art. He's taking a look at it. And from an outsider's perspective, it's as if he's completely ignoring his smoking hot date. Completely ignoring her, right? As if there's nothing going on there, you know? As if he doesn't even care. He looks like, from a distance, that he doesn't care about her. No attention, no nothing. Well, it stands to reason that ENTJs, especially ENTJ women, need attention. Because they have SI Trickster. SI Trickster's not really aware of what they are doing, they're aware of what other people are doing, and if they don't have the attention of somebody, if someone's like not looking right at them, they're not going to say anything. They're not going to communicate. It boggles their mind that they could communicate with somebody and that person's not even facing them, right? They end up feeling disrespected. They end up feeling unloved as a result of that interaction, especially with a lover, right? Well, you know, John Nash in this particular moment within this film is not exactly aware of that dynamic, right? But he's so attentive to the art, so completely attentive to what's going on in this art museum and the art. And then she's telling him something very important. It's important to her, at least. And he's just focusing, physically looking at the art in the art museum, right? Well, you could tell she's pretty miffed by this and somewhat upset about it. I mean, who could blame her, right? He's ignoring her, right? Well, someone else in the party comes and gets his attention and takes him away from her for a moment, and he has to walk off and handle that situation, and then she feels alone and she feels lonely. Definitely not the ideal situation for their relationship. And one thing led to another, and it led to some conflict for them in this relationship of theirs. But things eventually came to a head. They had a come to Jesus moment where she basically explained to John Nash that she wasn't cool with this anymore, and he basically explained some things as well. And in almost like a last-ditch effort within this come-to-Jesus moment that these two had within their relationship, a last-ditch effort, he repeats verbatim everything she said to him when they were at the art museum event. And she was shocked. She was flabbergasted. Really? How do you know? How did you know that? You were listening all along. And he said and looked at her right in the eye and said, I listen to everything you say, and I don't forget it. I'm paraphrasing, of course. That is the power of INTP attentiveness. When they're not even looking at you, when it seems like they're not even paying attention, they are literally hanging off of every word. And that attentiveness goes even further, especially from a technology standpoint. They're so attentive with their research, they're so attentive with their SI child, that they're like these walking sponges. They can just absorb all of the information, absorb all of the data at everything they do, constantly absorbing data. This allows the INTP to reach some semblance of mastery, especially in areas of technology, or quite frankly, in any area of interest to the INTP. The INTP just becomes captivated by what they're looking into, what they're interested in. That could be a game, that could be a system, that could be a form of engineering, who knows? But whatever their SI child is like, ooh, this is cool, they're going to absorb it like a sponge. And none the least of which are their relationships. Are you in a relationship right now with an INTP? Do you feel like you're being ignored? I guarantee you, you're not being ignored. Just because they're looking at you or not looking at you, right? Just because they're not looking at you doesn't mean they're not listening to you. Yeah, they're watching television and sitting down on the couch and being comfy and resting and whatnot, and you're trying to talk to them. Are they brushing you off the shoulder? Really? No. Actually, they're not. You know what? Not only are they so attentive, and they're going to remember what you say, 5 years from now, they're going to bring it up, proving once again their loyalty to you because of how attentive they are. Such is the way of INTP attentiveness. That's how it works in relationships, and they take that attentiveness to everything they do in their job. They don't waste time. If they're spending time with you, it's because they want to. It's because it is their good pleasure to do so. It's because you give them a good experience, and they want to continue to have that experience, potentially indefinitely, right? That is why they are attentive to you. Just because they don't look like they're attentive to you doesn't mean they don't care, doesn't mean they're not listening. Allow them to be this way. Respect them as such. You know, as an ENTP, this virtue advice as an NTP actually applies to me as well. It's not a primary one. There are times that my NJ girlfriends would be like, well, you're not looking at me, so you're not paying attention. It's like, no, that's not true. And then they get all indignant on me, accusing me of not being attentive to them, when in reality I am, right? It's just not my primary virtue and vice. It's like a secondary or a tertiary. But I completely understand. I get it with INTPs. I know what it's like for you gentlemen or women, right? I know what it's like to be accused to your face of being someone so indifferent, right? Oh, but wait. Let's talk about your vice, apathy. If INTPs are in an abusive relationship, or if they are uncomfortable in any situation, they're just going to turn their apathy on. And they can tune anything out. They can even tune out being beaten in a lot of cases. They can tune out that physical damage to their person. Gives them the super high, super mega high endurance. Endurance close to the endurance that ISFJs and ISTJs have with their SI heroes. It's because SI child is strong. SI child can take the hits, right? But they use it with apathy. Let me tell you something about the vice apathy. Apathy don't change shit.